What's up, guys? Welcome to it. That's right. We are officially live on Instagram again. Multi-Marketing is here live on Instagram. I'm, of course, your host, Noshad Khan, the director and your host here at Instagram Live on Multi-Marketing. And today, Sunday afternoon, the 6th of August, 2023, we're going to be joined shortly by one of the poets who has been featured in the Multi-Marketing Anthology 2023. She has also been on the Multi-Marketing Anthology 2022 editions. Both of these books are available on the MM Store. If you go to www.mmstore.co.za. So I'm going to herself, Heidi Hahn, who is a poet featured in the Multi-Marketing Anthology, both the 2022 and the 2023 edition. Both of these books are available on the mmstore.co.za. And I think she's joining us right now. Okay, I can't see her, but I do see something. I see a ceiling, actually.
Sorry, can you see me now, Nishad?
No, can you maybe lower your camera a little bit because we can't actually see you. We just see the ceiling above you. Okay, now we see you. Okay, now we don't. Need to maybe straighten up your camera so it sits straight, or maybe sit up higher or something.
Okay. Are we right?
Yeah, I suppose that'll do. We can still see your ceiling more than we can see you, but I suppose that's fine for now. So yes, guys, like I was saying, this is Heidi Hahn. She's a poet featured in the Multi-Marketing Anthology. She's been featured both in the 2022 and the 2023 editions of the anthology. Both of these books are available on mmstore.co.za. If you guys want a copy, head on over to there. But I just want to introduce the author first. Good afternoon, Heidi. How are you doing today?
Good afternoon, Nishad. I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you on. So before we get into this, guys, whoever is watching right now, if you have any questions whatsoever for Heidi or for Multi-Marketing, drop it down in the comment section below. At the conclusion of this video, we will be reading out all of your comments. If you have any questions, I will read it out for the author and she'll be able to answer it for you here while we are live. So that's why I invite you guys to, if you have any questions, comments, whatever, drop it down in the comment section below. But for now, I know we did this last year, or earlier this year rather, for the 2022 edition. But for those who haven't seen it, just give us a brief introduction again of who is Heidi Hahn. Just a brief introduction of yourself.
Okay, brief introduction. I'm a South African poetess, writer, songwriter, and the last year's collection was the first time I was published, and this year's the second. So yeah, I've been writing for 2 years, since 2020, and so far I've written 700 poems, so there's a collection. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell, Noshad.
Okay, great, perfect. So I know last year we spoke about how you started writing and how you found out about the anthology and how you entered it. But again, just briefly for those who haven't seen it, just run us through again how you started writing, why you started writing poetry, and how you got introduced to multi-marketing as well.
Okay, I started writing in 2020 after being, I think it was being separated from my children. So that was a form of healing. Writing was a form of healing. And I saw there was a post to submit your work to Multi-Marketing for the anthology for last year. And I entered and I was accepted. And then gave us the opportunity again this year for those who were featured last year to enter again. So that's how I got on that again.
Okay, so you have yet again two poems in the 2023 edition of the Multi-Marketing Anthology. You're featured on page 43 actually, and you have two poems here. It's called Dare to Scare and The Mountain's Point. So I think people want to know what inspired you to write those two poems that are featured in this year's anthology.
Okay, Dare to Scare was actually me encouraging myself and motivating myself to step out of my comfort zones and to do things that really out of my comfort zone. So it was motivation for myself, Dare to Scare. And the mountains point was I was facing a lot of obstacles, and that was actually also motivational poetry for me uh, to climb those mountains. Sometimes they seem so insurmountable, but yeah, my mountains turned into molehills. Thank goodness for that.
Yeah, so from what I understand, you are a poet who is based in Port Elizabeth, or as it's now known, Gqeberha, in the Eastern Cape province. So I'm sure those who are based in that province, you know, want to support their own hometown hero. They can go ahead, purchase a copy of this book and this book as well, because you're featured in both at the mmstore.co.za. But last year was your first time being published, and now here you are being published again. So based off from the last time you were published to now, how have people reacted that you're now featured in not one, but two anthologies back-to-back in back-to-back years?
Well, I think it's also a lot of motivation to other people, because when I explained this concept to a friend of mine, she's also a fellow poetess, and she also entered it. So it's a lot of motivation for other people to submit their work as well. And yeah, it's a possibility that you opened up to a lot of authors to be published. So I thank you for that opportunity, Noshad.
You know, without poets like you, anthologies like this would not be possible. So we actually have to thank poets and short story writers like yourself for actually making these books actually a possibility. So for those who want to buy a copy, pick it up, and, you know, read some of your poems, your two poems, Dare to Scare and The Mountains Point, what are you hoping that people will achieve or walk away with after having read your poetry that's featured in this book?
I think both of these poems speak to everyone, because we've all had to step out of our comfort zones. I think a lot of us with the lockdown and all the consequences, the financial consequences, we've all had to face obstacles. So I think it's universal themes that I'm speaking about, that I've written about. Challenges are universal, and at the moment, all face different challenges. So I think that resonates with a lot of people, and also Dare to Scare. We've all had to step out of our comfort zones in one way or another. So, yeah, I think my poems are motivational, because they motivate me firstly. And I know that whoever reads it will walk away with the same impact as well, because, yeah, that's the impact it's had on my life. It's actually uplifted me, and I feel like my poems are messages from a higher self. So I'm happy to share it with the readers.
Yeah, guys, so you heard it here first. If you want poems that can motivate you, that come from a higher source and a higher spiritual being that has been flowed into this poet, that bled through her hands and into the pages of this book, you can pick up your copy at mmstore.co.za and support these authors. I mean, these are their dreams, these are their goals, these are what the authors have strived to achieve, is being featured in books like this. And their poetry is not, it is for themselves, I feel, and as you're a poet, you can relate to this. For yourself, it's a form of healing, like you said. But at the end of the day, someone else can also gain some sort of healing by reading the poetry and digesting what you as a person have overcome, or what you're feeling in emotions at that point, to put it down on paper. So I know personally, you have told me that you've got over 700 poems. You've got a collection of those. So I think people want to know, you've got so much of poetry. There's no doubt that people who read these poems in both of these books will want to see you in future anthologies. So two questions in one question. Can people expect to see you in future anthologies? And regarding your 700 poems, if they want to read just your poems, just all of your poems at once, down the road, is there a possibility that you would have your very own book of poetry with all of your poems compiled into one book? Your own anthology, per se?
The first question, yes. And the second, I'm submitting my collection to you probably in next week. So we'll discuss how that will be featured and the collection will go. So I'll submit that to you in next week. No, sure.
Okay, well, we're always for authors, coming to us and having to publish with us. And we always appreciate that authors like yourself have had such a good experience with multi-marketing, that you keep coming back to us for, these kinds of opportunities that we offer. And I think you answered it last year, but for those who don't know, who are maybe skeptical of multi-marketing, based on your personal experience, what can you say about multi-marketing basically that can maybe lighten the burden on other authors out there who are maybe skeptical? Because we live in a country and in a world actually where there's a lot of scammers, a lot of people out there wanting to take your money and give you nothing in return. But you being an author who has been personally twice now involved with multi-marketing on a publishing level, how has your experience been, and what can you say to other authors that can maybe ease some of their skepticism that they may have?
Well, with all my experience in working with multi-marketing, I like your professionalism. Everything is, you explain everything as well. You hold our hand along the way. And my experience with you has been good last year, this year as well. And that's why I'm coming back to do my publishing with you again, my own collection. And I hope to be working with you in future as well. So you make it easier because there was a lot of technical issues that I needed to discuss with you. So you helped me with that as well. And other authors, I think I would encourage them because I encouraged my friend Saida. She's also in the 2023 collection. I encouraged her to also submit her work with you. So she was quite surprised because she was also skeptical. She said, scam. So I told her, no, this is definitely something legit because I was published last year. So she's very happy as well. So it is part of 2023. So to all those other authors out there, yes, this is a legitimate opportunity, and it opens a lot of doors as well, because I think it gives you the motivation to. I went from being in an anthology with other authors to now having the confidence to do my own collection. So it's a worthwhile experience, and I'm looking forward to working with you again.
And we look forward to working with you again. And for those who don't know, on page 88, this is Saida Peters. She is featured in the Multi-Marketing Anthology 2023. I did not know that you had encouraged her. So thank you for that and encouraging her. And I'm sure now that she sees a copy in her hand, she knows we're not a scam. We are real. We are 100% true to our word. When we say we're going to publish you, we go all the way and publish you. So last year, when we spoke, you mentioned there were a lot of projects that you wanted to achieve going forward. For those who have watched last year's interview, have you achieved those? Are you still achieving those? And what do you want to achieve going forward? What do you think the future holds for Heidi Hahn, aside from actually publishing your work?
Okay, last year I told you I was busy with songwriting. One of my songs have been produced already with the Colored in Girl projects, which is also an initiative with the National Arts Council. So yes, I did accomplish that goal. And the next goal is more songwriting. I'm turning my poems into songs. So I'm collaborating with a few artists as well. I think it's, yeah. So there's quite exciting things happening. And then on the social side, I plan to work with more community-based projects, but that's to do with the schools. But that's, yeah, I'm doing one thing at a time. But next year when we speak again.
You know why I'm looking so shocked is, number one, you're achieving so much going forward, and then that we also discovered you from a poetry standpoint. But multi-marketing, I don't know if you maybe have seen on Instagram or Facebook or even TikTok, we've posted out this thing where we're going into a new field, basically, of publishing and other fields, basically, of we're opening up another branch, basically, of multi-marketing. You being a songwriter would fit perfectly into one of those. So maybe after this Instagram live is over, we're going to chat and we're going to let you know exactly what we're talking about. We don't want to reveal too much, but guys who are watching the live, you might see a lot more of Heidi Hahn going forward based on what multi-marketing is actually pivoting towards at the moment. So finally, as a final question, what kind of advice would you give to other aspiring poets and short story writers out there who maybe want to get published, but maybe aren't sure or haven't started writing yet, or some who are aspiring to be poets and short story writers? What kind of advice would you give as someone who is now a published poet twice over?
I would advise him to write. A lot of people, I spoke to two poets who actually do it as a hobby, but they call themselves shy poets. So I advised a friend of mine in Cape Town to take his poetry into a poetry society, do some public open mic, become more confident with reading your work, to groups of people, and then submit your work as well. There's a lot of competitions that you can submit to, and then your initiative as well is very good. The anthologies are very good because perhaps when you're starting out, you don't have a very big collection, so that's a good way to get into it. And just to keep writing, I think that's the most important thing. We all have writer's block. You do experience periods when your creativity is blocked, but I think then you just take a break and get back at it again. I think it's more clearing your channel, because writing for me is like being a channel. It's being like a conduit to something higher than yourself. So I think that writer's block is sometimes when you get stuck too much in worldly things. You take a break and just then come back at it again. But don't stop writing, because I think we need to hear people's stories, and it resonates with us, and sometimes you take away something that helps you in your own life as well. So yeah, we need more art. We need more arts, and I think when you follow passion, then you discover more opportunities as well. So to all those people that shy poets, yeah, this is a good way behind your pen, but let the world see your work as well. So
That's true. It's all about getting your work out there. And guys, like she said, this anthology is great because it combines a lot of poets and short story writers from across South Africa. The one that came before, the 2022 one, is from across the globe. So it's combined a lot of poets and short story writers into one book. So you're not just getting Heidi Hahn, you're getting a lot of authors and short story writers. And as a bonus this year, I've added actually myself in here, and I paid for my entrance as well. You're going to see a short story from Naushad Khan as well in this book. So that's all the more reason to go and grab yourself a copy of this book and last year's book as well. But speaking of reading poetry, I'm sure you have your copy of the anthology with you. We did this last year, and we're going to do it again this year. Choose any two of your poems. You're on page 43, I believe. Choose any two of your poems to read out to the audience. Maybe they'll get enticed to read more of your poetry and more of the other poets and short story writers as well. But before you do that, guys, while she's reading, if you have any questions whatsoever, drop it down in the comment section below. And after she's done her reading, we'll engage in a Q&A session if there are any questions, and before we wrap it up. So Heidi, choose one of your poems and take it away.
Okay. Mountain Point. I'm no longer afraid to be wrong, because when I learn from my mistakes, I become mentally strong. I'm no longer afraid of failure, because when I attempt anything, the experience always works in my favor. I'm no longer a prisoner of my past, because when I carry this weight, my joy and energy does not. I'm learning how to embrace all my inner changes as I discover my true self, this long-lost stranger. And
so it is. I like that line so much. That is like your signature on almost all your poems at the end. And so it is. That's such like that is Heidi Hahn's signature. If you see "and so it is" at the bottom, you know it's written by her. So I don't see any questions by any of our viewers. But just to wrap it up, before you go, I know you have social media handles. On Instagram, you're at Heidi Hahn Poetry. But for those who don't know, you have a website as well, and I believe you have a Facebook page as well. It's in the anthology, if I'm not mistaken. But for those who don't have the copy yet, just drop your social media handles for the guys watching where they can find you.
Okay. My website is www.writingsfromtheheart.co.za. At Facebook, you can find me at Heidi Hahn. At my business page is at Heidi Hahn 369, and Instagram is Heidi Hahn Poetry.
All right, great, fantastic. So guys, if you want more of Heidi's poetry, head on over to her website. You can find her on her business page. She just mentioned it now. And if you didn't catch that, no problem. Go and buy yourself a copy of the anthology. It's in there. Her links are there as well, and you'll be able to find her as well. So guys, thank you for watching this live. Before we wrap it up, Heidi, any last words you have for the viewers watching?
I would appreciate if you guys would support our dreams, like authors' dreams. So, yeah, thank you in advance from all of us.
Okay, I think we lost your connection a little bit, but I think we got the gist of it, is to support local authors. So guys, thank you for watching. Thank you to Heidi for joining us this afternoon. I hope you enjoyed this live interview. And if you didn't catch it, you have this on replay later on. You can watch it again. But yeah, thank you to all the viewers. Thank you to Heidi for joining us. This has been Instagram Live by Multi-Marketing. From your host, the Director of Multi-Marketing, Noshad Khan. Have a blessed day further, and we'll see you very soon.